Hey, so that all day kind of thing didn't work for me, so I probably won't do that again. Um, didn't work for me. I don't think it's gonna help me with my growth. So, nevertheless, I posted it only because it was my day. It was raw. It was real. Just my day of how I get ready. Mm. Um, nevertheless, so I promised you a video about relationships. Like it was the only topic that I could think of. Um, so, um, so just about relationship status, like where I am at. I am so single. So very single. I um, had been in a relationship. I'm just gonna keep the current and kind of leave the past in the past. For now, like, well, it's all past, but what's going on in my life. So I had a relationship for 3 years. Um, really wild how that came to be. Wasn't looking for it. Was actually on my way in a whole nother path. Met this guy. Wasn't really sure about him. I met him and I knew that I heard the Lord's voice that that's your husband. Um, it scared me, so I ran from him. It scared me because I've been in a turbulent of relationships, and honestly, I just was in a space where I wasn't ready to be in love with someone, and um, I didn't even know if I was ready for someone to love me to that capacity. And so the reason this is important because it's very significant to some of the growth and the changes that I'm going to be making. And so what's most important about it is that I've recognized patterns, and reading my old diaries and kind of listening to the Lord about different things. He told me to reread my diaries and then actually seeing the patterns of things. Everything not quite the same, of course, different relationships, different issues, um, but of course, things that were similar as to my character. So this is the first time that I heard the Lord say, blatantly, like, that's your husband. Like, soon as I met him, I didn't necessarily find him attractive and he didn't necessarily find me attractive. We just weren't each other's types. But for whatever reason, he pursued and asked me my name. And so, with all due respect, he was in the middle of ending something. And so, um, he definitely didn't like pursue it in such a way like, oh, we have to be a couple. He's very polite, very mature, and so was I. And so, very respectful, very ladylike for me, and gentleman for him. And so I really respected that. And we were in this relationship for 3 years of waiting for the right time to actually commit on a different level, because of some situations, some circumstances that were going on. But, for the most part, we were good for 3 years. We were committed to each other in a sense that we knew that we wanted to be together. But there were a lot of things that needed to be done. Um, there were a lot of healing to be taken care of through between the both of us. A lot of regression on my part, because I've been dealing with my healing and the things of my past for a long time, and really actually utilizing the tools and seeing benefit from that. And then um, his space where he was actually put me in a bad space. So I kind of started regressing because I opened up to share, to kind of like let him know that it was okay. And so we as women and we as individuals, we have to be careful about that information that we share. Like, we think that we're doing it to open up the other person by being transparent. So like, hey, I can be transparent, you can be transparent, and we can feel safe with each other. but there's something about the timing with that. And so the timing for me was wrong, and I should have just pulled back and kind of listened to him and let him share what he wanted to share, and let it grow into something that God wanted, and not necessarily what we wanted. We both had different agendas about what we wanted. We both didn't have the same agenda. It became really weird, and but the timing was definitely off. God wasn't finished with me. God wasn't finished with him. I say God hasn't even started with him, but hey, that would be wrong. So, um, but no, God hadn't finished with him and put him on the route that he needed to be on, and definitely it had not finished cultivating me. And so nevertheless, that relationship was, what it was for 3 years. I loved him very, very much. He is still in my heart. I still believe God said what he said, but there's timing for everything, and there's learning experiences. And for me, it's about patience. My thoughts were, if God shared it, then why did he share it? But even hindsight, even then, it was, if everything was in place the way God wanted it to be, everything would be free for us to move forward, and it wasn't. And so it wasn't for neither one of us. Like, there were always obstacles that stopped him to pursue me on a different level, and there were always levels. There were all these obstacles keeping me at bay and not being able to pursue or really enjoy the pursuit or whatever it was at the time. And so it just became really weird, like the relationship. Each other's best friends, definitely, but not trying to friend zone each other, because we knew that we had this really great this really great love for one another, and just trying to dissect it and find out, like, what is this? Okay, so nevertheless, let's move forward. So 3 years later, we broke up. It was a bad breakup. A lot of miscommunication. So even some of the things that I'm learning now, going, why didn't you just say that? And so if I can't express anything, and I've always expressed it before, so why I kind of like didn't see it as a sign to just back up, was because I heard what I heard, right? And so sometimes Lord expresses what he expresses to you, but for me, it was about teaching me to put the Lord first, humble myself, and back up, and be respectful of the Lord's timing. And so sometimes I always say, like, we missed the mark, like I pressed forward trying to elevate something that we knew we both couldn't really put at that level. And he was confused about what he really wanted, and it just got real discombobulated, So you gotta wait on the Lord. But that's the bottom line, is that I actually pulled away from the Lord. I digressed a lot. So I pulled away from the Lord. I was trying to figure it out in my carnal. I was trying to figure out things in my flesh, things that were more important to me. Even my spiritual walk became second. My schooling, my spiritual walk, my schooling, everything became secondary, and just trying to maintain some homeostasis in that. Said I wasn't going to use those words. Some balance in the in that relationship, unbalanced my life. It just, the scales were just totally unbalanced, and it just threw me off my rocker. A lot of things were going on with me. My children were I was preparing for my children, empty nesting. I have 4 biological children and a nephew comes and goes, 2 of them. And so I knew that, the time is coming where everybody's kind of leaving. My son left, my daughter was gone. So now I've got a son and a daughter at home. That son left, and it was like just me and my daughter. And so I was preparing for, okay, to have somebody in my life when I totally empty nest. Good flesh move, bad spiritual move. So yeah, and then I thought it was him, and so that was that. Moving forward, we broke up. We both kind of did our own things. I met a wonderful man eventually. It took some time, trust me. It took some time. I did not go out and meet someone immediately. There were people who pursued me, and I talked on the phone, usually miles away, so that I knew that I wasn't ready. And so I finally met somebody, a man of God, that I really admired and really appreciated and respected. And I seen that he had lots of respect for me. Definitely respected my beliefs in the Lord, and respected, the level that I was at. And we had the same common um, interests and belief system, and believe that dating was just a quick thing, and then you decide if that's the person you really want to be with. So let's put more energy into looking at that person in a different way. And I thought I was ready, so I was like, okay, after pushing him off, um, after us going through a few obstacles as well, um, fantastic, just our personalities got along. He got on my nerves all the time, but he absolutely intrigued me, and I'm sure I got on his. And both of us had to be like prove each other like right. What would be saying the same things, like trying to prove that we're both like right. So the weird quirks about people, and myself. And so, but anyway, I enjoyed him, and he adorned me, and respected me, and had the same beliefs. So it was easy to fall into him, like, man, this is pretty cool, even though I still kept pushing it off. It was like, okay, wonderful. As the relationship started moving and growing, my ex came back into my life, and tried to respect my relationship. He did. He was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, let me back up, and had some conversations with some church leaders. Found out, that he was working on some of his skeletons, and I was a little impressed and intrigued. And so, honestly, because I was intrigued and impressed, he tickled my heart, like, man, is he ready to change? Not really knowing that was still there. So I elected to break up the relationship that I had with the gentleman, the man of God, and say, I'm still not ready, because he never should have tickled my heart at all. So I try to stay away from both of them, and just kind of like build my relationship with the Lord. But it was interesting. I can't say that I've never had more than one man kind of vibing for my attention, but I've never had more than one man like vibing for my attention, like constantly, like, when this one gives me space, this one's like, okay, and this one gives me space, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's not the point of my alone time. My point is to really listen and embrace the Lord. And so it was really difficult. It was really overwhelming and stressful. So, fast forward some more. They're both in my life. And so it still felt this tug of war. And it was like, I just really need time to myself. And then I started praying, and I started hearing like, still like, that's your husband. And I was like, I don't get it, And so all along I knew that I needed the quiet time. I heard the Holy Spirit tell me that I needed to have the quiet time. When I first went to the Holy Spirit told me neither one of them, and so it was like, okay, that quiet time that I've been longing for, even before they both kind of came in to my life together, it was like I had already said, I'm going to need a little space, a little quiet time just to kind of build my relationship with the Lord. That wasn't happening. And so it became overwhelming. And again, I'm a people pleaser. And so I felt like I was disappointing people. Another thing was that I had female and male friends that were kind of like, hey, you want to hang out? And so I was like, yeah. So I would hang out with other male friends and I knew like this isn't going anywhere. It's not like we're, trying to be on that level, and then hang out with my female friends. And then I had lost one of my close friends. Like our relationship just severed. And we'll get into that a little later. My relationship severed, so it was like I really was all alone. I wasn't really feeling the church. I was just really going through a whole lot. And so, bottom line, it got to the point where it just became too overwhelming. I finally got to this space of saying, you know what? I hear this. There's so many confirmations that we're supposed to be married. People who don't even know us. It just seems bad and I don't understand it. And it makes no sense. In my flesh, I want to walk away. But my spirit was like tugging on me, like, no, you can't walk away. And so it really hurt. And I was like, you know what? I need to hear God clearly before I make decisions. So I really just wanted to leave things alone. But I was getting a little pressure. Are you still talking to him? And are you still talking to him? And it was like, please stop. In order for me to do this, I just really have to focus. So at the end of the day, I made a decision that I would reconsider my ex. It was like, you know what, if this is where I'm supposed to be, let me reconsider. But I also still knew that God demanded his time. And here it was again, me stepping in prematurely, because it was like, is this our time? Now that he's wanting to change, is this it? Big mistake. Big mistake. All the changes that were happening with him had nothing to do with reconciliation. Had nothing to do with, you know what, Tanetta, let's make this right. It's still not his time. And he's still in a different space. And so I've had to had some issues happen in order to recognize God's not done with me yet. When I was 9 years old, I had this shirt that said, be patient, God isn't through with me yet. I'm sure it was about my breasts, seeing that it was for a little kid and I was only 9. And that's kind of like what everyone alluded to, like, oh, I see God's not done with you yet. Oh, ha, ha, ha. And even one of the guys that went to school with my sister was like, hey, Patience, I see that God's finally done with you, and I was like, that's cute. But I said it to say, and that's where his mind was. And so I said it to say, sometimes we have to be patient because God's not done with us yet. And I remember the song, please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. And so, I want to come forth, and God sees me as pure, like this is my daughter. Like we all have these names that our parents gave us, but God has a different name for us. And so I want to be blessed and know that when he says this, is my daughter, whoever. And so, or when he says Tanetta, it's a whole nother language of Tanetta, or it means something else, or this is my daughter, God within, or this is my daughter who illuminates the very essence of me, whatever that name might be. This is my daughter who waited impatiently and got it, whatever that name shall be. I'm realizing, like, oh, I can't rush into that. And we all have our own will. I can't push him into doing what's righteous because it fits my life when my life is still being molded and I'm being broken and remolded. And I get that now, because when everything was happening and losing friends and church members were making comments, I'm like, I've never had this situation before he came to my church. Like, what's going on? Just all kind of things where I started feeling isolated, and even leaving my job, going through all the stress that I was going through, there was still this piece of, can I trust anybody? Like, those are my coworkers, my friends, and it just became really overwhelming and really alone. And when this last incident happened, when I was assaulted, it was like the light switch just came on. Like, I knew that I had to obey the Lord. And so at this point, I still didn't know what that looked like, because the first thing that I had to do is seek him. Know that I know his voice at all times. That nothing should ever doubt because it's not going in the way that I think it should logically go in, because God's not a logical God. But that I have enough patience and trust to sit back and go, God, you be God and you do you. And if it means that you remove him out of my life to get him ready, and you, so that I can be prepared to be the undeniable wife that he needs, then fine. But if you're removing him to say he's not your husband because he's rebellious, or he's not your husband because you don't know how to be patient, you guys have missed the mark, or your own wills caused your, separation, whatever it is, I've tried to shake in my head, like, maybe I didn't hear the Lord, but I know that I know what I know and what I knew when I heard it, and I heard it over and over. So I'm never going to deny that. Just not going to. I don't care what anybody says, because if you finally saw Bigfoot and you saw him with your own eyes and you were up there touching him, then you would know that Bigfoot was real. But everybody else would be sitting there going, no, it's not, because we didn't get to see it. Now, we claim that people can give us testimonies and we're moved by that. But if somebody said that they seen Bigfoot, we'd have second thoughts about that. So, but for me, I can't deny it. If they gave their testimony, told me they were kidnapped by aliens, start saying it, I'm not necessarily going to say, yeah, I should probably pass on that lithium pill to you. I'm not going to say things like that, because at the end of the day, I don't really know. I can say things are fictitious, but it's not necessarily true. So, people are giving their testimonies. It might be, it may not be. All I know is that I don't want to give one of those testimonies. So aliens, don't pick me, and Bigfoot, I ain't trying to see you. So, and that's that. But now I'm in a space where I really adore my friend who's a man of God. I really, really adore him, and he make an excellent husband and only sees me as wife material. And that's the way it should be, that, a man kind of like knows, like, that's it. And that's not what God is telling me, though. I don't feel that in my spirit. Not yet. So I'm not being moved to stay with my ex. There's too much hurt, pain, and toxicity. I'm not moved to move forward. It's just not my style to be choosing between two people, and God knows that. The only person I was gonna say person for fragrant of the mouth, that I should be worried about being in love with is God. realizing today I was listening to something, and I could hear loudly, like, hey, I'm speaking to you. And it was, I'm trying to show you that the love that you've given other people and just would do anything for was always supposed to be mine. Like, from God. Like, always supposed to be mine. Like, I know what your heart desires, and I know exactly what you want. But I'm a jealous God, and I've always admired your heart, wanted it, showed you that I'm all you need, given you blessings and gifts, showered you with the things that you enjoy, whether they be tangible, emotional, whatever it is. I managed to give it to you. Even in forms that weren't me. You wanted to feel a body to love you and hold you. I gave you children when everyone told you you couldn't have children. He's blessed me through so many miracles, being electrocuted, telling me I can't have children, and then I have 4 biological children. Having enough faith to have to walk away from the adopted child that we were in the middle of to stand on his word about the pregnancy that I was having, that they told me this is going to be a high-risk pregnancy. There's a possibility you might lose this baby. And because I heard it, and because it was confirmed to me, and because I had faith, really, my faith was like this small, the size of a mustard seed. And that's only because my then husband kept saying, Tanetta, all you need is the size of a mustard seed. All you need is the size of a mustard seed. And he bought me a mustard seed. And I would go, well, I got that, right? But every month I would get disappointed. And every month I would be like, I'm never going to be a mother. Instead of actually giving God the glory. And then when I finally just let it go and was like, I'm going to let God be God, he opened up all kind of doors and all kind of blessings, and I got a beautiful son out of it, Malachi. That was the name I was told to name him. Beautiful messenger of God. Actually, at 3 years old, tells me that I'm gonna have his baby sister. Even when I was going, no, baby, that ain't gonna happen. Uh, so God does things in His timing and the way He wants it done. I don't know if either one of them is my husband or what's happening. I know I ain't thirsty because, well, I don't need to be. But I know I have a desire because I enjoy being a wife. I enjoy wifehood. I enjoy having a mate to come home to and talk to and build with and aspire and dream with and laugh with. But I enjoy me too. I've enjoyed me, sending myself flowers,